Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Real Access Motivates Progress live Wednesday night podcast. We are so excited you guys all chose to join us this evening, and we look forward to another great, amazing show tonight. Tonight, we're talking to the Providence Streets Coalition, which we are part of for an event next week. So, without further ado, welcome, ladies, to the show.
Thank you so much for having us, Tina.
Hi, Tina.
Oh, I am so excited to have this conversation with you guys. But in case anybody do not know who you are, please tell us who you are and what you do. Let's start with you, Liza.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Liza. I'm a resident of Providence, and I am the lead organizer of the Providence Streets Coalition, which is currently an alliance of about 42 community organizations, local businesses, schools, and neighborhood associations that are all advocating together for safer streets, more transportation choices, and policies that advance mobility justice so that everyone who uses the streets of Providence, no matter how they choose to move or how they have to move, can get to where they're going safely, easily, and affordably. That's what we do.
And you guys do such a great job at it. Val, tell everybody who you do.
My name's Val Reichuk, and I live in Fox Point in Providence. I have been with the coalition for about 3 years as an organizer, which means that I'm an active member participating in events and programs with the coalition. My circumstances are that I'm a senior citizen, I'm a retired teacher, and I do not own a car and I don't drive. So I walk and I use RIPTA buses, but I don't actually have a bike, which Liza does have. And so between us, we can kind of talk about the different kinds of transportation opportunities that there are non-car within our city.
Yeah, and working on making those systems better, as well as those for all mid-speed or light vehicles, which definitely include both manual and power wheelchairs, walkers, e-scooters, just small wheeled objects of all kinds, as well as.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm all for, not using other means of transportation, but sometimes like the disability community, everybody knows that my drama lately about not having a van, and that really makes it very difficult for me to get around. But it's even more difficult. You can't roll around on the sidewalks, and you can't roll around on the street because of the potholes, or Rhode Island's favorite, a telephone pole in the middle of a curb cut. So tell everybody a little bit about some of the projects that Providence Streets Coalition has successfully done and what's coming up, Liza.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to make it super clear that we fully understand that disability is not a monolith, and that there are lots of folks who experience disabilities who have to drive, and those who cannot drive, and then a whole spectrum in between. So one of the goals here is that we are, and we also fully recognize the total lack and dearth of accessible parking spots for those who do have to drive. And so one of the things that we aim to do is to make walking, biking, and taking transit an easier and safer and better experience for those who are able-bodied, so that folks who do have to drive due to limited mobility have an easier time driving and parking. Right now, we just have so many folks for whom driving a car is the norm and really kind of the only choice, because riding a bike or riding a scooter or skateboard or skates feels totally unsafe, and taking the bus just doesn't work with their schedule because the service is unreliable and it doesn't get to where they're going. So we're trying to increase these options so that folks who do have to drive those, of course, there's landscapers and people who need to drive for all kinds of reasons, both ability wise and commercial, just practical for what they do for work. And there always will be those folks on the road who have to drive. But do we really need, folks who are taking a giant pickup truck a quarter of a mile to the grocery store to get groceries? no, that's really not the right tool for the job. But if there was a protected bike lane there, or a bus or a frequent bus from your house to the grocery store, maybe you could leave that pickup truck at home for that one trip. And then maybe somebody with the accessible van could be parking in that spot where the pickup truck used to be. So it's all about options, all about increasing choices for everyone. I would say, yeah, some of the work that we've been doing here in Providence has been really focused on the urban trail network, which is Providence has a vision for an almost 80-mile network of trails, shared use paths for biking, skating, scooting, motorized wheelchairs, anything that is moving faster than a pedestrian, but slower than a car. And so we've done a lot of advocacy work around implementing that urban trail network, which you can now see on Broad Street, on South Water Street, on Empire and Chestnut Streets downtown. Just recently, a new one on Dean Street, which was one of the most dangerous streets in the whole city. And I'm so glad that that is finally there, as well as advocating for more rapid transit. Currently, we are working on finding more funding for RIPTA, because the RIPTA system is hurting very badly and is about to go over the edge of a fiscal cliff when the COVID federal monies run out. So we absolutely need to be supporting public transit, as well as the path system, as well as repairing our sidewalks and building sidewalks where they don't exist.
Yeah, and you guys do so much great work. And you're not seeing cars because there's always a reason to have cars. And that's what a lot of people think, that you're just totally against it. That's not the case. It's the case that get out, smell the roses, meet a neighbor, be a good citizen, walking, riding, biking, or whatever introduces you to more and more people. It gets you to slow down in the pace of life, which we all learned we all need to do during COVID, and gets to enjoy the beautiful city that we live in. I mean, Providence is a beautiful city. Rhode Island is a beautiful state that, if we could copy what Providence is doing across the state, everybody else would know their neighbors. They would be more enjoyable. They'd be out enjoying more things. But it's not safe as of right now. Like, I'll tell you, you say about dangerous streets, but try parking a van on College Street, steep hills, when you're trying to roll out in a wheelchair and trying not to roll down the hill at the same time. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, but if you made it on the two flat streets next to where you gotta go, it'd be a lot safer to get out of the vehicle. So we're talking about ways that we can adapt and fix what's already there. There's nothing that's impossible. It just takes some out of the box thinking and some people to give it a go. Throw 50 things up against the wall and hope something sticks. If it doesn't, you rework it. Val, what is your experience in the last few years working with Providence Streets Coalition that you want to really highlight about all of the great work that they do?
When I first joined the coalition, I was a participant in book group, and we finished several nonfiction books about mobility justice, about transportation. Currently, I'm reading a book called There Are No Accidents by Jesse Singer, and a friend in the coalition named Michael Kearney, he's reading it as well. So we're reading that together and discussing it. So there are opportunities sometimes to just be social by reading about things that involve us. Also during the pandemic, when I first met the coalition, I got involved by, because one of the streets in my neighborhood here in Fox Point was a closed street that was had barricades up for certain parts of the traffic, so that families could go out and actually enjoy the street and have it safe enough, slow enough traffic for kids to bike out there and not be in danger, and for pedestrians to use the street to go by. I was out there with my grocery cart on my way to East Side Market. So I would find, though, that between wind damage and human beings knocking over the barricades, there was a lot of disruption to that. So part of my advocacy was to go out there and set those back up every day. and make sure that our closed street remained a closed street for the short time that they were doing that experiment. And when it ended, people were really disappointed, Tina, that they couldn't still have at least part of the day when that street could be a little bit more manageable and not as dangerous. But that's been my experience, is to have a lot of hands-on activities with the coalition, including last summer when we did a more in-depth project. I had a handheld device and I went down side streets and counted parking spaces that were being utilized or not being utilized, and helped to do the data collection. So it's a real variety of the kinds of tasks that I might be asked to do, including looking at obstacles, which you were referring to, along my paths where I walk on the sidewalks in Providence, and reporting those on an app like the 311 app. So yeah, it's a real variety of things that might occur to me to do to help out, or that I might be asked to do.
Well, Val, you just gave a great segue to my next question about one and two applications. Liza, do you like to tell everybody what we're doing in partnership together next Saturday to do that and to talk about a new application that we could report with?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So next weekend, May 5th through the 7th, is the Jane's Walk Festival, which is a global weekend of walking and rolling festivals held in cities across the world that celebrate the great urbanist Jane Jacobs. And that's why we call it Jane's Walk. And Jane Jacobs really had this foundational kind of instinctual, she was just a mom. She wasn't even a trained urban planner or trained architect at all. And she was instrumental in kind of re-embracing urban life in New York City in the 60s and preventing a highway from being built through the West Village where she lived. And she was like, nope, a highway doesn't belong in an urban village. And people, the streets are for people, and people are what make the streets great. I love that you were talking about the social inclusion aspect of Streets for People earlier. There's like this amazing research done decades ago that showed that the speed and volume of car traffic on your street is directly proportional to how well you know your neighbors. Like that it's something that we kind of inherently think is true, but like has been proven in science. So anyway, I digress. Next weekend, Jane's Walk is all over the world and also here in Providence. And there are walks being held on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Tina and I are doing one together, and Val is doing another one with another coalition member, both on Saturday morning. But the one that Tina and I are doing together, I'll let Val talk about hers after, is all about using this new application called the Parking Mobility app. We all know that often drivers don't park very well, and parking regulations can go unnoticed or unabided by. We see cars parking on the sidewalks and in bike lanes all the time, but and a huge problem is that they are violating accessible parking spots for folks who need them and who cannot exit vans or who cannot get into a parking space if it's an accessible space. So there's an amazing little app on the phone that has been founded as a grassroots volunteer organization out in Austin, Texas, right, Tina?
Yep.
Yep. And we are going to go on a walk and use this app. We're going to go on a walk through downtown Providence and notice deeply all of the accessibility challenges that exist in the built environment and use the app to report them. I'm
going to jump in and say something about the app too, because it's a beautiful piece of software. The first thing I had to learn about it was to put myself in Tina's space of how she's going to use this when it's actually up and running. And I pictured this day when Liza and I would be somewhere in Providence waiting for Tina, and she's having to circle the block in her new van, and she can't find an appropriate parking space.
That's on a weekly basis.
the middle of the parking mobility app menu, which I pulled up on my phone so I can kind of be looking at it as I'm talking to you about it. The middle part of the menu is the part that Tina activates when she's driving. So she's in Providence, she's looking for where Liza and I might be standing to meet her. And she finally can just tap where she wants to locate parking, and the app will start to locate parking spots in her vicinity with the GPS. And that's the first part of it that's really beautiful when it's been fully implemented. And then the upper part of the menu is for the kind of reporting that Liza was talking about, where we observe violations, people using spaces that they're not allowed to use, spaces that have been inappropriately deployed with tiny, tiny little areas next to the driver's side door or the passenger door that are not appropriate width for people to get in and out of the vehicle, and all kinds of ramp problems that we might see. And it's really cool because the pull down menu lets you report those problems without having to do a lot of typing. And I thought that was a cool part of the software, because I've had to use other reporting.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm all thumbs out there.
yeah, I mean, the great part about, I hate typing. The next part about this app is not just for putting, blockages for accessible cars, but when all of those bikes and scooters are left all over the sidewalk, you can report those. You can report the front of buildings that are not accessible. Like I said, our famous Rhode Island telephone pole in the middle of a curb cut, you can report that. You can also, log where accessible spaces are in Rhode Island. So somebody coming into the city or coming into the state can know they can park their accessible vehicles, and then you can recommend where you think an accessible spot should go. If you're out in front of City Hall and you need a spot and you need a certain vendor to move because they're in the accessible spot, you can say, hey, maybe this should be where the accessible spot should be. It's not blocked by anybody. Going forward. So the app does so much stuff for so many, not just a disability, but bikers, walkers, with baby carriages, it helps. So come out and learn about the app. 10 to 12, we're gathering at 225 Dyer Street next Saturday morning. You'll meet with me and Liza and a whole bunch of Rhode Islanders and some very high-ranking Rhode Islanders. We'll just throw that out there. So if you want to mix and network, this is the time to come on out so you can kill two birds with one stone. And we're just going to walk around Providence, and we're going to talk about accessibility and show you and firsthand with my wheelchair, show you firsthand some of these are and what's going on. Val, do you want to tell everybody about your walk?
I dare not, Tina, because I think I'm at the same hour as yours, and so I dare not even try to plug my walk, because I might draw somebody away from yours. But I wish you.
That's okay. Liza, though, you have another Friday night too, Liza. And we.
Yeah, on this coming Saturday.
Liza, tell us about your walk Friday night.
Oh, so, well, actually, we have we have something coming up this Saturday called the Fam Jam, which is going to be a family bike ride through Elmwood. And we're partnering with, if it doesn't pour raining dogs and cats all weekend, which it is definitely projected to do. But such is life, planning outdoor events in the springtime in New England. But on Saturday, we are having a family bike ride for all ages and abilities in Elmwood and South Providence. And we're partnering with Bike On, which is an adaptive cycling company and organization located in Warwick, and they're going to be bringing a bunch of different types of adaptive cycles, like trishaws and all these different chats, and they have a really incredible range of vehicles for folks, and they're going to bring them for free. Folks can sign up. I'll put all the info in the or
Let me
somewhere.
tell you, I have ridden a bunch of their different bikes, and I have been ridden by, because sometimes I get lazy and they had a bicycle built for two that I could just sit there and somebody else could do all the work. And let me tell you, I kind of really enjoyed that. So come out and check it out. And if it does rain, Liza's going to tell me when the picking date is. Maybe I'll have my van by then and I can come out to that, because Icon has some really cool bikes that not only do you want to come and see, but check it out, because then you could live a little bit in my world and feel what it feels like to adapt to riding and being out in nature in a different way. So come out and check it out. But you have another one on Friday night that I'm hoping to attend as well.
The North Main Street one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's, so North Main Street is one of those streets that is failing everyone, I would say. I think it is horrible to drive on. It's horrible to walk on. It's horrible to bike on. It's okay to take the bus, the R line, but it has a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of energy behind redesigning North Main Street for safety and accessibility and more housing. It's just like there's so much potential there. And so on Friday, May 5th, the Providence Planning Department and RIPTA are going to be doing a Jane's walk on North Main Street. And so we can all just kind of envision and get excited for what the possibilities are there. It could really be an important and better developed corridor for Providence.
And where are you gathering for that? Guest times and gatherings?
I totally forget right now. I'll have to follow up with you. Let me check it out. 1 second. I ask about.
All right, she will follow up.
Yeah.
What other exciting things do you have coming up? Because like I said, I know you have so many things. What other exciting things do you have coming up?
Well, like I said, this year, a lot of our focus is going to be on funding RIPTA. So I don't know if that's it's not really an exciting event thing, but it is an advocacy issue that it's really important, that we hope to mobilize a lot of folks for. RIPTA's budget is balanced until July 2024. So we do have just over a year to find more funding for the agency before really catastrophic service cuts are planned. There was recently a Boston Globe article that kind of detailed exactly what bus lines would get cut if they don't get more money. And it's like all of Sunday service, all of holiday service, like many of the lines in the state just cut. About 400 of the 800 employees of RIPTA cut if we don't fund RIPTA at a higher level. So that is...
We really don't, because my chair doesn't fit on a RIPTA bus. It does if there's absolutely nobody on the bus. If there's 1 or 2 people on the bus, I will take them out by the knees or the ankles if I ever try to turn around or get onto that bus. So we already have an accessible issue. Everybody's heard about my van issue. Ride and stuff doesn't come up to 3/4 of a mile. If you're in outskirts, Exeter, in Foster, Gloucester, Burrville, you don't get any service out here. So we're already losing so much service. Now imagine cutting that for all of the people that live in the cities in Warwick, Cranston, Providence, that depend on these buses because they're in the cities, and all those lines get cut too. So this is something we should all be worrying about. And we need to find a way to fund this so we keep RIPTA going.
Yeah, and not only so when you cut a regular fixed route bus, that means also the ride service, that the paratransit that serves in the 3/4 mile distance from that fixed route line would also be cut. So it's further deteriorating the paratransit service as well as the regular service, which we just cannot have.
Yeah. So transportation, I mean, other than homelessness, transportation is a problem in this out there. I want to let people know that those are the 2 top points in our state.
Sorry, Tina, your audio.
Go ahead, Liza.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Your audio is coming through a little bit choppy for me. I couldn't hear the question.
Oh, oh no, I cut you off by accident.
Sorry, your audio is coming through choppy for me, so I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Oh, now tell us a little bit more of what you guys have coming up. What's
Oh,
on your agenda?
Well, when we were speaking just then of legislation, the other piece of legislation that comes to my mind immediately is that there are two e-bike bills for people who own electric bikes or who are going to buy electric bikes. And sometimes people expect that Liza or I might be opposed to an e-bike bill, like let's not over-regulate things. But these actually look lovely. They're well written. They're updates of current bike bills to include new classifications that are very particular for 3 new classifications of electric bicycle. And this clarifies things. And what we're hearing is that the vendors who sell these bikes in Rhode Island are looking forward to having this clarification, being able to tell the consumer, this is what you're buying, these are the speed limits that apply to it, and these are the safety regulations that go with this vehicle. And we're hearing from bike enthusiasts that they're eager to have that kind of standardization, that they know as they go from town to city in Rhode Island, that there can be some standardization around how fast you can go and how you operate your bicycle, your e-bike. So it was very exciting to see these pieces of legislation come out. I know Liza and I testified in writing, and I think she did verbally. And it's kind of fun for us too, because sadly, sometimes we have to go to the State House about the things we hate. Sometimes going to the State House is all about being negative, and maybe you can relate to that, Tina. I don't know, but this is a time when we could be very, very positive about something that's coming down the pipe.
yeah. Thanks, Val. And yeah, e-bikes are such an important like extender of the bicycle for folks with limited mobility or limited ability, like folks who are older. I think you know, who aren't necessarily able to ride up College Hill anymore. Well, all of a sudden you got an electric motor underneath you and you can get up that hill. And I'm hearing from folks across the country who are really seeing e-bikes as a freedom, as an opportunity to keep exercising and keep getting out into nature well into their 70s, 80s, you know, opening it up for folks who do have that limited mobility and need a cargo bike or a bigger vehicle that absolutely needs a little bit of e-assist to get where they're going. So it's also just foolish at this point. They're so ubiquitous everywhere, and the private industry is well on its way. So it's foolish not to regulate something that is already being adopted and very popular across the state already. Yeah.
Well, how about that? I was trendy. It was trendy. I have my electric bike already. I have more wheels than I bike.
Heck yeah.
So I was trendy before it was trendy. And they don't make a speed limit for my wheelchair. So, you know, we have it in our favor. So, you know, I can go as fast as I want, you know, because I can accidentally run over anybody I want. So it's all in good fun, but the State House is always a fun place to go, but it's great when you can go and put legislation out there and actually make positive change. So yes, I agree. I like it when I go to make positive change. It's not often. Usually I'm voting against something. You know, it's nice when you get to go up there because, you know, just think about it. You got the luxury of walking into the door, up the front steps, and into the rooms. We go through the bowels, up through the elevator, and then once we're in the middle of the State House, we're literally trapped in that State House because if there's only one way out for us. So, you know, on the State House to get on wheelchairs, you know, it's something important to take our lives at risk to put ourselves in for no reason, but it's always great. But I'm loving about the e-bikes that are coming down because then maybe they'll put charging stations around the state so we could charge our e-bikes my wheelchair at the same time. So see, the disability community gets forward going by you guys, so you can catch up to us, then putting the charging stations in so we can, keep going with the fun. So, we make it work. We do it in a positive way, but we work together. But Liza, everything that you do is just so incredible. We connected now. I think it was that we first connected. We met at CIC building. It's so funny that that's where our joint walk is. I first met you in person, was at that CIC building when it had first opened, and you have just been a fire from then. It's a pleasure to work with all the way around. You heard that Rip will be doing the accessibility for PVS again, so everybody will be able to come out to PVS because Ramp will be doing all the accessibility. So there will be streets that are blocked off to make it more pedestrian friendly, more accessibly friendly, parking spaces friendly. So we plan on changing that all up. So we're looking forward to that as well. To partnering with you as well. And the Providence Streets Coalition is going to be a part of Accessibility is Beautiful this year. We're going to bring down some streets that too. And we're going to be bringing bike on down for that. So we're going to be bringing you guys on down for that as well. So there's a lot of partnerships going on that we have a lot of. And what did I miss, Liza? What have we talked about yet?
Oh my gosh. So much happening all the time. Yeah, I cannot wait for PVD Fest, and Accessibility is Beautiful. And
we actually have two people that are doing social director duty, two organizer volunteers who have been stepping up and planning events for us. And some of those events are just to get together and socialize. And I know it's really helped me, Tina, as a person who uses public transit and who walks but doesn't bike, to be in this community with people who do bike, because all of us face some of the same perils that you do when you're on a sidewalk and there's no accessibility. And my friends who have bikes go through bike lanes that are sometimes filled with tables that restaurants have put out because they feel that that's an appropriate place for them to invite the diners to sit, is in the bike lane. We all have these accessibility difficulties that we have in common. And so having these social events where we can just sit and talk to each other, and it's raised my awareness so much that now I look at a bike lane and I see that through different eyes than I used to. And I see, oh, well, something's obstructing that. That's just a mess. I have to pull out my 311 app and report that. And having your parking mobility app is going to change my life in another direction as well, because it's going to make me look through that lens that my best friend, who has a hang tag on her rearview mirror, and she does have a disability and she does have special parking privileges, she goes through life with that lens that she has to be looking for her accessible parking. And I don't ever really travel that way with her, and I don't keep my head in that space. But now that I have the app and I can think more deeply about these things, I can report those kinds of incidences around Providence. So I think the social part of it is pretty important. And I'm glad that we have some people that are making that happen.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. Organizing has to be fun. Otherwise you burn out. I'll say another big thing that we're going to be organizing around this year is the Providence Comprehensive Plan update. So once every 10 years, the city has the opportunity to change kind of the skeleton of the planning that goes on, and the zoning, everything from the zoning ordinance to the building codes and things like that, and really the vision of how the city is going to grow. And that is coming up next year, and there'll be public meetings for it all through this year. And so we're really going to be activating our followers and our organizers to show up to demand, more mixed income housing, more accessible housing in all different neighborhoods in the city. We're going to likely asked the city to lower the parking minimum requirements and for throughout the entire city so that we can build more housing and less storage for cars. And I think that there's going to be certainly some important accessibility recommendations within that as well to make sure that those who do need accessible parking have it. And then
well, we have to give a quick give a quick shout out to our new mayor, because accessibility is one of his priorities. And I know it's, that actually stands behind that. So I'm actually looking forward to working with him, because accessibility is very important to him. And so I think positive side change with our new mayor. So
yeah, I was so thrilled last night. I was watching and reading about his budget proposal and saw that he is proposing to dedicate 4 new DPW staff only for sidewalk repair, which is so needed. And that is something that we hear when Val and I do outreach all the time, of just about the broken sidewalks and what a challenge that is for people of all who get around in all different ways. So having dedicated staff to sidewalk repair is a huge improvement. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, there's a lot of new blood in the city and new commitments. We also this year have received a major federal grant for the Urban Trail Network. So it's about $27 million from the federal government to continue working on the Urban Trail Network for the next 4 years. So that's huge and underway, and a kind of a testament to the work that's been done so far.
And hopefully we'll see a lot more tables popping up around the city and around the state, because if you have tables, everybody has table. So we're looking forward to getting a lot more of those up and around. And I just want to clarify, the Parking Mobility app is not just for Providence, it is for all of Rhode Island. It's actually countrywide, but we're trying to collect data in Rhode Island. So even if you don't live in Providence and you want to come and find out what the app's all about, come on out, because you can still use it in your neighborhood. If I happen to have my van by next Saturday, I will be driving around the rest of the state and the remainder of the day using the app all around Rhode Island, meeting up with different people. So like I said, if you just want to come out to Providence and meet up and have a great time with me and Liza and a whole bunch of other people, come on out next Saturday, 10 to 12. We're meeting at 25 Dyer Street, which is right in front of the CIC. In case you know, come out and meet us over there, and we're going to have a great time. It's always a pleasure talking with all of you, but I want you to give out the website and contact information so people can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is pvdstreets.org. Very simple. Yeah,
that is awesome. And tell everybody in your 1-minute wrap up, give us your best plea of why everybody should get involved in Providence Streets Coalition.
Yeah, the streets of Providence aren't working for everyone now, and they could be. If you get involved with us, we can make a better mobility future for everyone on the streets. We can promote safe, equitable, and sustainable streets so that everyone can move safely, easily, and affordably.
And they're a great group of people to hang out with. Go ahead, Al.
They're also pretty fun. We're pretty fun. We do some transit-oriented drinking events. We often will get together in the park. We're a fun crew of folks who really care about the city and want to see the built environment serve everyone.
But just to let you know, it's not work, it's a lot of play too, because like Liza said, if you're not having fun while you're doing it, it takes the fun out of creating these beautiful streets. So like I said, pvd.org, right?
Yeah, pvdstreets.org. And you can find us on Twitter at pvdstreets. You can find us on Instagram at Providence Streets and on Facebook at the Providence Streets Coalition. And if you're
and if you forget all that
and you want to,
if you forget, just reach out to me. Put you in. Val, give us your 1-minute wrap up of why people should get involved with Providence Streets Coalition.
I think I'm going to pitch the safety angle, Tina, that there are a lot of people who would get out of their vehicle and maybe use the sidewalk or the bus or their bike a few hours a week, but they don't feel safe enough to do that and in their environment. So I'm going to pitch the safety angle that we can do something about that, that the work that Liza and I do in Providence Street Coalition makes the environment safer for people to get out of their cars and experience the city in a different way.
I love that. And here's what I'm going to say for everybody who needs to be involved. We are 3 women who don't just say it, we get it done. We do it in a positive way. We have fun while we're doing it, but we can make positive change. So instead of moaning and groaning and complaining that gets nowhere, come out and join us and make a difference, because your say can make a positive say. You using these apps, using 311, using parking mobility app can actually make change. Your one person can make a lot of change. So stop complaining about it and stop doing something about it and join in the fun. It takes a couple minutes a day. It could be a couple of hours a week. Get involved, get your kids involved, get out there and have a time. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing all that you do. I enjoy working with both of you so much. We do have a lot of fun when we get together, and I cannot wait till next Saturday and beyond. And like I said, if the bike on thing moves a date, let me know, because I want to be there. Or if you do another one, make sure I know about it personally. I want an email from you personally, because I want to be there. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much, Tina.
I want to invite back. Anytime. I want to invite next Wednesday, same time, same channel. We are talking home health. We were talking about cool elevators for your house and reps and stuff, and all grants that you can use to make sure that that gets happening in place. So next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. And as I always say, don't just sit there, make a difference. Have a great week, everyone.